not until the school day is ended. Non-food related fundraisers allowed during or after the school day, so that hasn't changed. I think the big point is that food fundraisers cannot compete with the school lunch program. That's the big piece of it. And certainly the other part too that's important to note is that food brought in from the outside, must meet the guidelines that I mentioned, except for if people bring in their own food for lunch. So we had a really, I thought, a great conversation with their subcommittee. I think I'm hoping a better understanding of the policy and the intention. We invited Richard Kelleher, who serves as our interim food service director, to talk more along the lines of the guidelines and how it works, and understanding the balance and making sure that we meet the nutritional guidelines, but understanding the school community as a whole in terms of how can you balance the needs of fundraising. And I had a lot of experience with him in Marblehead. Out of transparency, he was the food service director. He's filling in right now for Emily, who's on maternity leave. We had Mr. Rob Leshin, who's a parent at Thorpe, but also works for DESE in terms of the food nutrition program. And he brought his expertise just to describe, the changes and what can be done and what cannot. And I think he was very clear in terms of the understanding and provided some helpful information in terms of, do fundraisers need to meet competitive food and beverage standards? And the answer is yes. So we talked about the A list, but the A list can be comprised of items that you might not think would fit under that, such as ice creams and other treats that meet the guidelines that can be sold or distributed in schools. That was very important. And we also had Principal Brian Riley, the Thorpe School, who discussed how he has worked with his PAC in order to restructure how they're able to utilize a system to reinforce the positive behaviors and such that he's bringing to a school. He worked with the PAC so they still are able to do fundraising, but not compete during the school lunchtime. And it was really impressive, his presentation. And I know he's here tonight if you want to ask him any questions. He did a great job, as well as Richard and Mr. Leshin. So I thought the conversation was very positive. We also mentioned that October 3rd, we will have a meeting with the PAC, a central PAC meeting, to talk more in detail. Because certainly with this process moving forward, we want to make sure that everybody understands the rationale, but more importantly, like, how can we move forward, and really the appreciation for what PACs do for our schools and the importance of working together to support our schools, but also meet the guidelines and meet the policy as well. So we, again, had a great conversation on that. And I think it brought a lot of clarity to, what the policy is about and also what the wellness committees do. So I would make a recommendation to bring forth the wellness policy for a first read.
Okay, so I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to have a first reading of the policy, of the wellness policy.
Second.
Okay, so is there discussion?
Well, Gabe and I were part of the earlier conversation prior to this time together. And I think it comes down to just a lot of state and federal regulations that, we don't have a lot of flexibility with. And, we've brought up the idea of, still in allowing students to have those fun activities during the day, like they might have felt through slush, or ways for PACs to continue to fundraise. So I think the most important thing is, as Dan alluded to, is the PAC coming together in the various schools and figuring out a way to make up those funds. I know personally for both Smith School and Holton Richmond, they were really good fundraising opportunities for both schools that were able to be used for cultural enrichment programs. So it's a big hit for, I know, schools that depend on that fundraising that's coming from either ice cream or slush or whatever other food related fundraisers that they have done. But I think the point is just to try to find a collaborative way to find a new solution around it. We did talk a bit about our current lunches, and we're assured that they all do meet very specific requirements for wellness and health. I know that was brought up in a few conversations we've had with community members. How can we serve, beef nachos, but not provide ice cream or slush? We've been assured that we only serve very, healthy foods to our students. Dan had actually a really good idea about perhaps addressing that in an upcoming school committee meeting, just to kind of reinforce the school menu and how it is healthy for our students. But, we did talk through a few of the things that did come up from the community members.
So just a clarification, so I know one issue is we cannot obviously fundraise during school lunch and it has to meet the USDA guidelines. When you do meet with the PAC, is the plan, are we proposing like completely like no food fundraising at all during the day? Or are we trying to come up with like maybe more of like consistency with that and maybe what that looks like?
They did provide us, as Dan mentioned this, there's a thing called the A list, and there is a list of approved items on that list. And there was like ice cream and sherbet and like frozen fruit treats. So there are other opportunities besides what is being used currently. I don't know if at Thorpe, if Principal Riley wants to share a little bit more about what he's been able to do with his PAC.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were able to shift our program outside of the school lunch hours. But I think it's important to note, working with our PAC, the treats that we do serve are approved by the A list, and so it meets those requirements, and so the school fundraising portion of it is acceptable. So we've transitioned it to be more of a community-wide event to ensure everyone has options to it, and also have more of an opt-in form where parents can choose that they can opt in, make sure that there's an allergy-friendly option, as well as a non-ice cream or pop type treat for those who choose a more healthy option than ice cream. But working with the PAC and kind of scaling it back from a weekly lunchtime event at Thorpe to a twice a month event outside of the school lunch hours, and that's focused on more community building. And our Tiger 5 has been something that we started in early July around, and came to a program. And there's been a lot of positive feedback from our first PAC meeting with around 30 families in attendance around that shift and the focus more on inclusivity and supporting cultural enrichment rather than purely selling ice cream.
Yeah, no, I think this makes sense. I think just whenever we are, it's a first reading, but whatever we do decide, I think is really important that it's not like, well, Thorpe gets to have this, but I'm just like throwing like Riverside can't do any of this, so like we do have to have, I think, some consistency among all the schools. Because I know that got brought up in the past too.
Through the chair, can I add one thing?
Yeah.
And I want to also, in Gabe made a very good point. Mr. Lopes made a really good point in terms of the equity piece, because that is something that's really important in terms of students. And Principal Riley was able to talk about how the PAC is working on that as well to ensure that that is happening. So I don't know if you'd like to comment on that, either Mr. Lopes or Principal Riley.
Mr. Lopes, you want to? Or?
Yeah, no, I'm there. I just thought, your point was great, and to kind of suss it down, it's just really about ensuring that every student is involved, regardless of income. And I think, we really didn't go into specifics of how to address it, but I think that effort alone, and I think you're having some additional conversations around that, are just really important, that we could still do a fundraiser, but still involve every student regardless of need. And I think more details are going to come from future meetings. It's what I heard Mr. Riley, if not mistaken.
Correct.
Yeah, I see you nodding.
I just would like to add thank you to Alice and to Gabe for their insight, and certainly to our guests that came on to the call. It was really very helpful to have that collaboration, and that's the anticipation of, meeting with the PAC again on October 3rd. And Principal Riley volunteered to come aboard to talk about the work they're doing, and certainly it'll be a work in progress. And I know, if this is approved to move forward, then obviously we have a school committee on the 16th to talk further in detail and hope to have more specifics in place. But I'm very encouraged by the collaboration and really the appreciation of our PACs, but also the understanding of the guidelines that we're working with as well in our food service program.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, Janet, can you do a roll call for the first reading of the wellness policy?
Yes. Robin Doherty,
Yes.
Alice Campbell,
Yes.
Eric Josh Kepnes,
Yes.
Gabe Lowe.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that carries as the first reading. So we look forward to the update after the PAC, and then we can go from there when the second reading will be. So the next item agenda is civil rights. What a busy policy meeting today.
Yeah, yes, it was. It was a great policy meeting. Certainly we got to the end, and this item did not take as much time. Working with our counsel, Attorney Michael Joyce, he's had an opportunity to review our bullying harassment policies, civil rights policies, Title IX, and all of our procedures as he's reviewing our handbooks. He's working with trainings and PD for our employees as well as our coaches. And the big piece is, as I brought to the first school committee meeting in August, was a recommendation for policy AC and ACE, which is around our Title IX and civil rights. Attorney Joyce also has reviewed the Attorney General resolution that we have that's in place until the end of the school year. And once he reviewed that and worked with our school side counsel, Attorney DePietro, it's within his recommendation is that we hold on both those policies, do not make a change at this time until the end of the year, because the resolution that was put into place reflects the current AC and ACE that we have on our school committee handbook. So his recommendation is to stay put with that, which makes total sense. The one policy that I'd like to recommend for a first reading tonight is policy ACAB, which is the sexual harassment policy. The rationale behind the recommendation for removal through Attorney Joyce is, as he's reviewed our policies, this one is redundant. Policy AC addresses the conduct of sexual harassment. So this policy really not only is not needed for redundancy, it doesn't match the current law, and it's quite frankly, it's outdated. It came into place in 1995. There have been changes in the law since then regarding sexual harassment. So his recommendation is it's not needed, and the removal is a recommendation that I'd like to make for this evening. A recommendation for first reading, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, we had to say, so we need a motion and a second for the first reading.
Motion for the first reading of the updated civil rights update, I guess.
A second.
Second.
Thank you. So is there any discussion? Yeah, I think just when this gets to the second reading, the final approval, I just thinking about how we can make sure that that gets out to like the staff members so they know, all right, this is, these are my rights, this is the policy. So, which I'm not worried about getting it out. I just, so that they know the update. So, all right. So, I need, if Janet could do a roll call for all those in favor for the first reading of the removal of policy ACAB of sexual harassment policy.
Robin Doherty,
Yes.
Alice Campbell,
Yes.
Eric Crane? No. Josh Kepnes
Yes.
and Gabe Lopes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Doherty. The important piece that you brought is very important, is that the policy is not changing at all in terms of our current policy regarding civil rights and sexual harassment under Title IX. That's the same. That's AC and ACE. That stays the same. The ACAB is not needed, and that will be duly noted for sure. The additional work, and these are just, again, just updates for the committee, is that Title IX grievance procedures. This just allows our building administrators, as well as our Title IX coordinators, to understand the procedure, and it's really about streamlining. So my initial presentation back in August was, to revamp the policy AC, to take out the procedures there of grievance for Title IX. But the Attorney Joyce recommended just adding this into our handbooks so that it's procedure, not policy. So there's no school committee vote needed. And that's sensible. I'll work with our admin team to ensure that those are included in the handbook. We already have this. It's in school committee. We just want it so it's easily found and easily accessible. And the last piece of the recommendation is that a comprehensive review of our policies and procedures. His recommendation is to table until the spring and summertime, just to honor our commitments to the AGO resolution agreement. That's his recommendation. So those are the further updates in civil rights. That's it.
Thank you.
The next item is the school safety committee meeting, which took place yesterday, highlighting our safety presentation, which will take place this Thursday at Holton Richmond, 7 o'clock. We're looking forward to an opportunity to present not only our policies and procedures regarding safety, but also the chief and his team will be there to discuss not only communication, but just the overall theory in terms of why we are moving forward. And we've had these procedures in place for many, many years. It's an opportunity to have dialogue and present to the community. There will be an opportunity at the end for questions and answers. Also, October is going to be School Safety Month, where we'll feature our safety drills. Actually, the high school had one this morning, very successful. A lot of feedback in terms of how it went, and actually was outstanding. And the other drills will take place in October for the schools, elementary and the middle. Bus evacuation drill, more fire prevention. We've already had our fire drills and the positive report, and then bullying prevention. So we'll highlight that in October. An item that came up yesterday, which we'll be communicating out to the community on my update on Friday, is just to ensure that the protocols for visitors entering the building and exiting the building, we have a sign-in on top of the Raptor system. So it's not to replace the Raptor, which is extremely important, but just the piece of information that we have, as well as a staff sign-out, because in the case of an emergency, we do not want to waste time. We want to account for everybody that's in the building so that we can protect those and not put anybody in harm's way, first responders or staff looking for somebody who may or may not be in the building. We want to be absolutely sure on that. The high school, middle school already have the sign out and sign in procedures, and we're going to now bring that back. It really happened pre-COVID. We're bringing it back from COVID. In addition, we'll add lanyards to the visitors so they can put in their Raptor pass, and that will help. Communication was discussed in terms of walkies for a district-wide that interfaces with the police and fire. There's more development on that and more coming through. They've been meeting, James Sullivan, our director of technology, has been meeting with the police and fire in terms of finding a frequency to get this to go, and we're making progress. But also the walkies that we use in the schools, we're looking to add more and update the walkies that we have. There was discussion of an application that can notify staff in the event of an emergency. We know Essex Tech has one, and we're looking to put together a small group to discuss and visit Essex Tech to review this if it's something we would like to investigate. And then finally, the schools, fire, and police provided updates. And I think it was a very positive meeting, and a lot came of that. So that's the school safety committee meeting from yesterday.
Good recap. That's good.
The last item in the update, and I'm going to turn this over to Assistant Superintendent Mary Wormers, just to provide where we're at. I know the results of MCAS came out and we're in the process of analyzing. We're going to present in October, but I just wanted to update the committee in terms of like with the analysis, what we've been doing and how the presentation will look, and a few highlights. So Ms. Wormers, are you available?
Yes, I am. Thank you. So yeah, we wanted to update you on what we've been doing with the our analyses of the MCAS data, so that when we got back to school, that's when the Department of Ed allowed districts to see the full results of the MCAS. And so when that happened, we as curriculum directors and building administrators started looking at that data. And when we do that, we look at it in many different ways. We look at it as an aggregate, kind of like how the grade level did, how they did against the state, and then how they do against how they've grown over the years, and looked at their growth. We also look at disaggregate data. That means it breaks down how the achievement happened in the different subgroups of kids. So we get to know like how our subgroups are doing in the MCAS. And then finally, there's curriculum measures. So you get to look at the standard or the item analyses and kind of look at how the kids are doing as far as the curriculum wise in accessing the standards in Massachusetts. So we did that. I met with curriculum directors to really go over a lot of what was happening at their levels. And we also shared it looked at it together as a principal group and talked about the building levels. And so we started to pull out some themes. So next month, you'll see we're going to come forward with a presentation, but here's some highlights of what we found when we were analyzing that data. So we were finding, areas of strength in the MCAS were ELA at the middle school level, 6, 7, and 8 grade all did improve their scores over their their previous grades performance, and they also did well against the state. At the elementary level, our math was strong against the state averages this school year. So we're hoping that, that's partly, I think, due to that ST math program that we really used. I mean, the schools had set such lofty goals and had kids so energized and participating in that program. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Grade 10, the cohort has shown growth from 8th to 10th grade in both math and ELA. And the good news at the Holton Richmond Middle School is that the chronic absenteeism rate at the high school exceeded targets, not just for all the kids, but in each of the subgroups too. So it showed that, with all the different populations of our subgroups, we were doing well in getting them to improve their attendance at school. So that's a big part of, student achievement and a sign of, the stronger culture in the school. So areas for improvement that we found were, in writing in general, as we looked over the ELA, when we dug deep into the standards and into the item analyses, we see that still it can be challenging. Answering a constructive response or writing an essay can be challenging for our students. And it's not just Danvers, it's overall. The state also reports that's where they're seeing weaknesses as well. Math at Holton Richmond continues to be not as strong as we want it. Over the past 2 years, we've transitioned to a new math program. So we have made, based on our previous year's MCAS, we've changed our program and shifted to a new one that is more rigorous than our previous program. So I think that, we've had a little bit of that implementation dip as we're all trying to get used to a more rigorous program. And we're hoping that, not hoping, but we're knowing as the next few years come that we'll have stronger results. We have a great coach from the company, from Carnegie Math. That's our new program, who comes in to help coach the teachers. And that's been so valuable to have that in the moment kind of PD for them. And then in 2023, math at grade 10 was lower than we would like it to be. But again, there was show growth from where they were in 8th grade up through 10. And so another area for concern for us is that we're seeing a little bit, that students were opting out of MCAS, which hurt us sometimes in the number of kids not meeting expectations, because if you opt out, you get a 0 on it's reported as a 0 for our school on the MCAS. So that was been challenging. And in accountability, part of the accountability rating you get, which is another set of data that we've gotten in September and that we've looked at, is your assessment participation rate is a big factor in that. And if we have a lot of students opting out, our participation rate slips below 95%, and that gets us not in need of assistance. So that's been troubling. for us. So that was something that came up at one school, and we'll talk more about that when we get into our presentation in October. So I just want to say that a lot of this analysis we're doing also is at the elementary is starting to begin now with our local data. So Julie and her team of principals are all starting to look at their the beginning of the year reading assessment data, and they are working to put their MTSS groups together based on that data. So it's not just the MCAS comes in and that's like that is a big focus, but we also do the same type of analyses when we get down into our local data and to help us kind of keep moving that instruction along for our day-to-day work.
Okay, thank you, Mary. I don't want to get too bogged down with this because I know you're still analyzing it and teachers are just finding, they were embargoed till recently. So thank you for the update. I know we're going to have more information in the, coming meetings. Yep, Dan.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chair. If that's done, then I did have one quick update slide, just one more thing that I know is requested.
Can I ask just for one thing on that MCAS update, when the data does get presented to us in October, I just really want to stress to everyone that we be as critical as possible. I know we are very much here to celebrate our district, and I think I'm more guilty of it as most, that I always look for the positive. But I think we're at that moment where we really have to be critical. And what are the lessons? What are the changes that you would recommend as administrators, educators, principals, curriculum directors, whatever hat you're going to wear? I want to hear what you want. Honestly, I want to hear what kind of changes need to be made to, make some positive changes to some of these MCAS data points.
Yeah. And to your point, Alice, we, based on even some of our local data that we were analyzing last spring, we knew what some of those changes had to be. And the MCAS has just confirmed that for us. So the MTSS block at the elementary level. So we've made some of those large, those bigger changes, but there's still more to come based on what we analyze here.
Great, thank you.
Superintendent Bauer, did you have something to add?
Is he muted?
Still muted. And I know this was requested from the last meeting, just an update on emergency assistance families. And Mary has been leading the charge. And again, proud of Mary for her work and our team, as well as the across the town and support. So Mary.
Yes, so our emergency assistance program, we've been seeing students coming in since August, and we've been registering kids for school, and we continue to do so. And we did we actually registered some new families again today. So I thank Pam Ames and registration person in central office for coming along and helping out with that, because is that it? So at this point, as of today, we have 58 students in the Danvers Public Schools that are part of the emergency assistant program. We have 39 of those students are at the elementary level, and 19 of them are at the secondary level. So yeah, at the elementary level right now, based on, existing transportation and infrastructure, we have 3 schools where those students are attending. And those would be Great Oak, Highlands, and Smith. And that is those 3 schools would have traditionally seen, some of the students from that area. That's regionally, those 3 schools would support students in that program.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
the coffee, we had our first one this morning at Holden Richmond. It was I thought it was well attended for the first one. Chief Lovell was there. We talked about school safety. That was our focus. And the plan is next month we'll have one at Riverside. We're going to coordinate with our PACs to host them. The next one will take place, I believe, at 5:15 or 5:30 to provide an opportunity for those who can't make the morning time to come in the afternoon and evening. And again, we already talked about the Central PAC meeting October 3rd, which I'm excited about that too. So that's it for the updates. Thank you.
And Dan, thank you for that, because I don't know if that has ever happened before, the central PAC meeting. But just bringing the PAC leaders together, I think is a great idea and great initiative. So thank you for doing that.
Okay, so the next item is unfinished business, which is our, so the district improvement plan, the school improvement plan, so this is the second reading. So first, I do need a motion and a second for the second reading of this.
I will make a motion for a second reading of the district improvement plans, K through 12 school improvement plans for a second reading.
Second.
Okay, thank you. So is there any discussion? I know we got to ask a lot of questions last time. I don't know if there's additional questions lingering, or if there's something, Superintendent Bauer, I don't know if there's something that we need to share that changed. I don't think anything changed.
Nothing changed. I just want to, again, express my appreciation to our leadership team who's here tonight, in case there are any questions and the work they put into it. And I think the other piece too, that's important to note is there are increased metrics, although the goals stayed relatively the same. You know, we're going to a 2.0, so we're looking forward to seeing the achievement that will come with the hard work of our administrative and our teaching staff at all the schools. I just want to say thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for our school committee's support.
I never thought I knew the name of a penguin named Gigi, Julie, until, the last 2 years. But if there are no questions or discussion, then we can move to adopt the district improvement plan and school improvement plans K through 12. So Janet, could you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Robin Doherty,
Yes.
Alice Campbell,
Yes.
Eric Crane, Josh Kepnes,
Yes.
Gabe Lopes.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. So thank you everyone for your work on that. Principals, curriculum leaders, teachers. I know that it was a lot of work. We're excited to see what happens. We're excited to talk about it at the end of the year too, and reflect on what went well and see the successes of it. So thank you. Dan, do you want to excuse them or do you want them to stay? I don't know.
If it's okay through the chair, yes. Thank you again. It's been a long day for our administrative team and our directors. So thank you again for all of your hard work, and have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, so we are at the new business. So we need an appointment of a delegate and alternate to the MASC annual business meeting down at the Cape. Dan, the dates are the 8th, the 7th, the 9th.
7th, 8th, 9th, I believe those
Okay,
days, yes.
that goes into Veterans Day. So we need I don't think I can appoint myself, but
Can I appoint Robin, Dr. Doherty?
Can I nominate Robin Doherty?
sure.
I second that nomination.
Okay. I don't think we have to vote for that, do we? I don't think so. Is there an alternate if someone needed to go down for the day on Saturday or something?
Eric.
Okay, we'll tell him that he's the alternate then. Okay.
Well done. That's well done.
Okay.
No, and also as I don't know, Gabe or Josh, if you're able to be an alternate on that weekend, I don't think I will be able to, but
We can also talk about in October too, or like,
okay.
I can send out the dates and, people can think about it too.
Yeah, we'll get a confirmation of the dates too.
Yeah. Yeah.
The dates would be held. That's the weekend of the 10th, or
Yeah.
Well,
which-
7th and
November.
8th is a Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah. So Dan,
8th, 9th, and ends on the 10th, yes.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
so you vote on the 10th, right?
What month are we talking about?
November,
November.
sorry.
Thank you.
It used to be virtual during COVID and then now everything is back to in person, like the vote and everything like that, so. But we'll talk before about the resolutions and everything like that, because remember, we've gone over them and the person votes based on what the school committee has decided.
Okay.
So we can look back at the dates too for that specifically.
Okay.
Right, so the next new business is the approval of homeschool requests. So, I need a motion and a second to approve the homeschool requests.
Were there
Motion
any?
to approve school requests.
Sorry, Gabe. I just didn't see any in the links, I guess. Are they in the drive?
Doesn't appear to be.
Which is fine.
Yeah, there might not be any homeschool requests.
I wanted to ask, yeah.
Okay. All right, consent agenda.
I have to approve the minutes real quick.
Thank you. Yep.
The secretary moves to approve and release the minutes from the September 11th regular meeting.
Right.
Second.
Okay, so all those in favor, please say, oh, sorry, Janet, roll call.
Robin Doherty,
Yes.
Alice Campbell,
Yes.
Eric Crane, Josh Kepnes,
Yes.
Gabe Lopes.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have the consent agenda. So we need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, Janet, can you do a roll call, please?
Robin Doherty,
Yes.
Alice Campbell,
Yes.
Eric Crane, Josh Kepnes,
Yes.
Gabe Lopes.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know if there's any communication updates to share. I don't know if Mr. Bauer, you have any updates?
So I'll just put them, the school safety items will go in my update, as well as the community spirit update will go in there as well on Friday.
Okay, thank you. I know Eric's not here. I don't have any updates from legislation. I don't know if there's anything specifically from like a school district. Okay. So subcommittees, curriculum assessment and equity is meeting the end of October. So that is the next meeting for that. I know we talked about the safety meeting, policy meeting we've covered. Deep, I honestly did not go. I wasn't able to go. If you have, okay.
Happy to provide an update, Chair.
Yeah.
Yep, we, Mary and myself, we attended the DEEP meeting earlier this week. It was an organizational meeting, setting up, support and allowing them to get back into the schools to talk about the teacher grant program, which is outstanding, but also look for other ways that they can support special projects within the schools. So that was part of the discussion. In terms of looking for fundraisers, they're looking for opportunities to bring in a variety of fundraisers, and that was talked about. But that was really the crux of the meeting. Mary, is there anything that I left out?
No, you got it all.
Thank you. Danvers Cares.
So Danvers Cares, we had our organizational meeting on Monday. And it was a great opportunity to meet the group and just reestablish, and again, looking for areas within the community that can bring positive change. And certainly it's starting and setting up the year. And I think one of the big pieces that came out of it is, connecting all the programming with those that are involved on the school side, primarily our social workers, and looking for ways we can connect that aspect of the work, whether it's dealing with substance use and awareness, whether it's mental health, or whether it's anything in between. And that was a big piece of the discussion. So we're looking forward to our next meeting, which I think is in 2 weeks.
Josh, CPAC, I don't think so. Or is there?
I did make some contact with CPAC, and they
Okay.
are going to be just in touch over the next coming weeks to see if they can get on our agenda coming up. So
Yeah.
yep, that's the only update, is that there'll be an update coming, I guess.
Yeah, no, we're open though. So whenever they want, they can just send you an email and you can forward it, or
Yep.
they can send it to myself or Mr. Power. Either way, it's
You
fine.
got it. Sounds
Thank
good.
you. And then Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion.
Yes, I attended my first meeting last week. Really productive. Some events that are coming up are Rainbow Day. That's today, September 26th at the library. All right, that's already passed, but that was another inclusive day there. September 23rd at Danvers High School from 11 to 2 is a Hispanic celebratory event. So there'll be food and other celebratory type things. I do want to call out a big shout out back to the support of our schools, to the new families that have come into the town and are entering the district. They couldn't be just, they were just really grateful for Mary Warner's and her team. So that was really special. In regards to some additional help for our the new additions to our community, I spoke to Dan Bauer about this. So I'm really trying to see if we can find some volunteers to organize donations. They're really bursting with donations, but someone has to sort it and organize it. And I don't know if that means teacher volunteers or maybe some student groups who can go down. I mean, the town has really rallied to collect items, and there's no resources to go in and break that all up. So if there's something that we can organize, that would be really, really great.
I love that, Kate. I love that
Yeah.
idea. The middle schoolers or the high schoolers.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if there's something that we can talk to the principals about, Dan, but that's a really fantastic idea.
And are there any items that they're really looking for? That we...
There is a list that the
Mary.
town. Yeah. Well, Mary may know, but I know that's all being collected at town hall.
Yeah.
But they're literally like bursting. There's been such a deluge or a volume of donations,
Yeah.
but Mary may know some things that are still
No,
missing.
I just think like winter clothes, because I think like people like
Oh,
they
yeah.
get summer stuff, but like they're cold. Like the last couple of days have been very chilly in the morning, so coats and like sweatshirts and sweaters, that kind of.
Gift cards are also really welcome. They're living in hotel rooms and they can only cook with a microwave. So giving them the discretion of maybe getting what they need could
Like
be really helpful.
restaurant gift cards, you mean, like to eat, or like?
Yeah, or just like general cash gift cards.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You know what I mean? But
So
yeah,
if they want, they should reach out to the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee to help organize. Do you think? You think that's the best point of contact?
no, there's a woman, Mary. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. She's organizing
Agnes?
all the donations. Yeah.
Oh, well, Agnes or from Center Board, but then I think Jen at the town hall is
Yeah.
working.
I apologize. I couldn't remember her name at town hall, but she's been really helpful as well.
Okay.
And then the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee did directly ask the school committee, what is the equity subcommittee, who is in it, and if there can be like more transparency around what the mission of it is and what it involves. That was really it. That's something that myself or Eric Crane can go back and report on, but that was the big thing. Like what does equity mean in this subcommittee? You don't have to answer that now. If there's something to send or whatever, I can report on it at the next meeting next month.
I mean, I think, and Mary, you can obviously jump at any time. Like, I think, we combine the equity piece into the curriculum, because when we had separate committee meetings, we were really talking about a lot of the same thing. So if we have a strong curriculum and assessment, that all ties in together with equity, because then every kid is getting what they need. And really, if you have good teaching, it in strong relationships, that's what equity is all about. I don't know if you want to, and I know a lot of the work too that the teachers did this past year was all related to equity. I don't, Mary, you can jump in too.
And Robin, we have a team, a district-wide team it's for the Culturally Responsive Leadership Academy that we work with the Department of Ed on. It's they call it an MTSS committee. And that really, the work of over the last year has put a framework together for equity where we look at different pillars, like we look at like student engagement, we look at like school, like how school operations and how that is equitable to students. We look at our work with families, and then we look at district policies. And like, so we have a framework for that. We kind of set that up. And as we move forward into our third year of work with them, we're going to start to look at, areas under each one of them that we can kind of attack to make sure that we are being equitable in all areas of our school district. And Dan is going to come on and join the group, and as we move forward, and hopefully we'll see parts of that in the strategic plan that that Dan begins to develop on the next year.
Awesome.
But Gabe, honestly, and I know we haven't been good about this, like now that they're all virtual, like anyone can join at any time. So like the next curriculum assessment equity one is the end of October at 5:15. So if there's someone there or anyone there who wants to join, and I know in the past we haven't been as good about like advertising that when any of the subcommittee meetings are, but I think now they're pretty laid out, and I think we welcome, the community, because otherwise it's just us.
Yeah, and I think seeing equity, it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It sounds like pretty specific. It's curriculum based, and it's literally mentioned in almost every school committee meeting. So, I can go back and share that.
Okay, thank you. I did forget to mention that some exciting news is that we did hear from Clint Allen, and we did sign the lease with, my goodness, I'm forgetting, is it Sonic? The solar company.
Oh,
So we
yeah.
signed that. I think I'm saying the company wrong because I forget where I wrote it down. But so I guess we'll then hear what the next steps, like the lease is signed. So I'm sure that he'll be contacting Superintendent Bauer to say, okay, like, and they'll be coming up with a plan, I'm sure, of what that looks like in the installation. Because I know we wanted to make sure too that the kids were able to learn from it, but also that it didn't disrupt the school day. So that's exciting. Our next meeting is October 16th at the Holton Richmond Media Center. So that is where we will be. Everyone will be on the same level. We'll be in a horseshoe. I think it'll be good it'll be better viewing for everyone. So that's where the next meeting will be. So if there's not anything else, I need a motion to adjourn in a second, and then I need a roll call from Janet.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Robin Doherty,
Yes.
Alice Campbell,
Yes.
Eric Crane, Josh Kepnes,
Yes.
and Gabe Lopes.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Good night, Danvers. We'll see you next month. Bye.